Islam 101, An Introduction to Islam. Public figures and pundits across the political spectrum, from George Bush to Barack Obama and Sean Hannity to Alan Colmes, suggested the global war on terror, which actually describes a tactic rather than an enemy, is against some rogue radicals that have hijacked an otherwise peaceful religion. Islamic groups in the U.S. even rent billboard space on the side of public buses to advertise that Islam is simply another Abrahamic faith, suggesting kinship to Judaism and Christianity. With public displays of one pope kissing the Quran and the next bowing toward Mecca from inside a mosque, it might give one pause to wonder. Most Muslims in the U.S. seem peaceful enough, but why are so many in the Middle East cradle of their religion so violent? How is Islamic violence in Europe to be explained? What about Africa, India, and Indonesia? Some counts at 2 million killed in the Sudan alone. Why does a peaceful Islamic presumed majority remain so stunningly silent in regard to Muslim-perpetrated bloodshed throughout the world? Where is the public condemnation of the violence, particularly from their imams and other leaders? Some Muslims suggest that they follow the law because they don't eat pork and skip lunch for a month, but they don't follow the 613 Mosaic laws, let alone that Muslims are almost universally born Gentile, not Jew. Others suggest that the Quran must be read in Arabic to understand Islam, but a Christian only needs to know a single verse from their book in any language to recognize that Islam is the perfect opposite of that revealed through the New Covenant. That they said, "We killed Christ Jesus," but they killed him not, nor crucified him, for of a surety they killed him not. While blindness to the gospel that God gave some Jews is discussed in the book of Romans, everything a Christian needs to know about Muhammad's religion is revealed through this single verse that rejects all of the prophets, apostles, and the whole subject of the New Covenant that brought salvation unto Gentiles. Even as all Muslims must deny Jesus' blood, many believe that the first drop of blood shed by a Muslim so-called martyr may provide propitiation for the sins of 70 of his nearest and dearest friends and relatives. But Muhammad prevents them from believing that a loving God could manifest himself in the flesh of a man to do the very same for all who have faith in his shed blood. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many, for the remission of sins. It's the way Jesus put it. It is easy to understand why Muslims go to desperate measures to imagine Muhammad as a prophesied prophet, but to no avail. Thus they are left with a standalone 6th century religion recited by a single individual who received revelations from a spirit while alone in a cave. Even Muhammad came away believing that it was a demon because he felt like it tried to squeeze the life out of him 3 times. Christians well understand the encounter. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. However, Christians readily recognize where Muhammad can be found in the Bible. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. But Muhammad came as a ravening wolf. One of the most blessed verses in all of Christianity is, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life." No surprise then that Muhammad's answer is, "They say Allah most gracious has begotten a son. Indeed ye have put forth a thing most monstrous." Muhammad's Allah even curses. Jews call Uzair son of Allah. Christians call Christ the son of Allah. Allah's curse be on them, how they are deluded away from the truth. If Allah were the same as the Christians and Jews' God Yahweh, he would seem both schizophrenic and bipolar. Islam is so perfectly opposite to Christianity, it should give even a devout atheist pause to wonder. Western Muslim apologists for Islamic violence either know very little about their own religion or engage in Islamic subterfuge known as taqiyya, or lying in the way of Allah. They should know that if they lived in the cradle of their religion and protested Islam's 1400-year lust for conquest of the kingdoms of the world, they could be killed as apostate. practicing taqiyya, some partially quote a verse near the beginning of the Quran, "Let there be no compulsion in religion." But that verse is abrogated by many other verses later on that suggest violence against non-Muslims, such as, "I will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers, smite ye above their necks, and smite all their fingertips off them." We find this verse manifest, for example, in Indonesia, where 3 teenage girls were beheaded on their way to their Christian school, and one of their heads left on the steps of a church. The note left behind reads, "We will murder 100 more Christian teenagers, and their heads will be presented as presents." Regarding no compulsion in religion, we find a practical example of what happens once Islam is in control. Residents of a southern Somalia town who do not pray 5 times a day will be beheaded, an Islamic courts official said Wednesday, adding the edict will be implemented in 3 days. If a Saudi Arabian doesn't show up for prayers in the morning, the religious authorities may show up at his home to find out why. This is the same enforcement authority that killed 15 girls by sending them back into a burning school because the girls emerged without head coverings in their panic to escape the flames. At least 18% of the world's Muslim population hold views that the vast majority of non-Muslims would consider radical. No small number with a global Muslim population of about 1.5 billion, suggesting that minority is close to 300 million. A practical view is that the non-apostate 18% of the Muslim community is doing the heavy lifting of Islamic conquest, while 82% are satisfied to go along for the ride. This would explain their silence in regard to the violence perpetrated by their brethren. While generally subdued in their cheers for Islamic victory when around non-Muslims, except perhaps on U.S. college campuses, we witnessed jubilant celebration throughout the Islamic world in the wake of the murder of innocents and the World Trade Center destruction. Is it reasonable to suggest that the Muslims that preach peace will prevail, or the ones that would cut the heads off of those that preach peace for apostasy? Even now, Sunnis and Shiites murder each other's innocent men, women, and children, believing each other to be apostate. Fathers behead their own daughters and wives as a means of preserving their honor. Click on the icon in the video response section to view part 2. Click on the links in the More Info section for a playlist for Christians, a website text version of this video embellished with supporting links, and a link to a forum for in-depth and meaningful discussion.